Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of My 15 Minutes on the Old Folks Boogie 2 channel. My name is John. This is episode 38. So I've done 38 of these in a row starting from January 1st to today. If you've never seen me before, this is just 15 minutes where I do nothing but run my mouth about anything I feel like. it's my 15 minutes to do with what I want. So I'm not taking too much advantage of it, I don't think, but who knows? Somebody else is going to have to figure that out someday. The goal is to do this for a year. This is 38 out of 366, so here we go. Just getting started. Anyway, so last night I ragged on a bit about one thing that was my favorite and one thing that I'm not real happy with, but I'm not sure what I'm going to talk about tonight exactly. Something got me thinking about my kids and growing up and my own growing up and I just a little bit. I was born in Doylestown, Pennsylvania. When I was young, we lived in Bristol and then in Levittown. But when I was about 7, my father got transferred to England for a little bit. We were there for 6 or 7 months and then came back, and then we were in Texas for 5 years, then Kentucky Kentucky till I went in the Army. Till I left school and went in the Army. That was like, for me, that was about 5 years there too, I guess. But they were still home even when you're in the Army. You're still, when somebody says, "Where are you from?" You're from Kentucky. Not from Pennsylvania, not from Texas, but that was where I lived when I was inducted. So that's where so Hillbilly, Ridge Runner, those nicknames when you're in the Army. You're from where? Kentucky, where's that? Not everybody, by any means. Just those people on the far coasts who can't imagine what's going on in the middle of the country. And of course, that's probably changed too. Even less people know where Kentucky is than did then. Oh, well, although, Mr. Paul might, up that ante a bit. I may be wrong because people sure know who he is. And he's from Kentucky. So anyway, and I'm pretty sure I got that right? Yeah. I hope I didn't screw that one up. I'm pretty sure that Rand Paul's from Kentucky and not from Tennessee, and he's not from any other surrounding states. So pretty sure it's Kentucky. But anyway, so you get around a lot when you're growing up. By the time I got married and had kids, I'd been living in Pennsylvania for 20 years. Moving back here after my parents moved from Kentucky back here, and then I followed and, ended up back here as well. So, but I'm not sure if that's a blessing or a curse. My children have had the advantage of having actually only 2 places they've lived. They've lived in a house in Bedminster, Pennsylvania, and now they've lived in this house. And now now they don't live here anymore. Now they live in Philadelphia. So they have their own homes. But, but they didn't have the freedoms that I had growing up. We lived in a rural area, and we rode bikes everywhere. We traveled anywhere we wanted to do. We lived pretty far out in a little place called Anchorage, Kentucky. And in 1962, that was about the end of the rainbow. It's right at the edge of Jefferson County, Kentucky, right at the edge of Jefferson County, which encompasses Louisville, Kentucky. And so, but we were, surrounded by farms at that point. Not anymore. That's all. That's all done. That's it's changed completely. The high school that I went to is still there. But and there are other things that are still there, but it's not the same than that. There's no more farms; it's all houses. But when I was growing up, we had we could hop on a bike and put fishing poles on the string, tie fishing poles to it and go places and you know just travel. I mean, we in the summertime we never got home during the day. We were out. We didn't sit in the house, and we didn't have a computer. We didn't, we weren't allowed to watch TV. You get outside. You don't need TV. On the other hand, we let our kids and use TV as a babysitter and did all those wrong things that you're not supposed to do that people say you're not supposed to do anyway. Our kids, some outside stuff, and they had a lot of activity things, but Sam was an Eagle Scout, and that took a lot of years. Started when he was in kindergarten, as a forgot what they call those Cubs. Well, it was Cub Scouts, but what do you call? I can't remember what the first level is, but anyway, all the way through till he was 18 years old. So there was a lot going on there, and he was always involved in the school plays. Anne Marie is an artist, and she was involved in a lot of the stuff. She was involved in school plays at that time. So there was a lot of stuff for them to do, but what they didn't get to do was, go places. And they didn't have neighbors. We live in a house that's not surrounded by neighbors. That's not, conducive to having, friends nearby that you can go, leave and just go out and have fun with. Not, So you had to be driven places. You had to meet other people, have somebody pick you up. For our kids, that was the normal life. For us, when I was growing up, my brothers and my sister, we would just get up, go out the door, get on a bike, and travel. Friends were all over the place. We had a pack. we had that group, pack mentality, or a bunch of boys on bicycles running around the neighborhood. We weren't mean or anything like that, but we were definitely a pack. We built a tree house, tree fort, some people call them. We had BB gun wars. We weren't always the nicest to each other, even. One kid was a Catholic. I'm not going to say his name. It doesn't matter. But he went to a different school. We were all the rest of us were going to public school, but he went to Catholic school. So on one day when he had a specific holiday, a Catholic holiday, and he was home, he went and cut the branch that our 2-story tree fort that we built, was on, and it fell to the ground. It must have fell about 20 feet, I guess. 15 feet probably. But whatever, it fell and broke into a million pieces. It was actually a really pretty amazing piece of machinery not machinery, it wasn't machinery, piece of engineering, I guess you could call it, when we got done. It was a pretty good tree fort. The second floor only had gun ports and an open hatch on the top. The rest of it was so you could get in there and defend without, nobody could get into you, so to speak. So that was the safe room of its time. Plywood walls nailed together with whatever. And it was all on one branch, which is really unusual for a tree house. Boys usually build them, you put 2x4s out and you put the platform down, but no. The platform was actually started before I even moved into the neighborhood, and it was just 2x4s nailed crossways on the branch. and just nailed so tight that they wouldn't move. And so then they put plywood on top of that, and then that was going to be the whole thing. But then somebody decided to put some walls up, and and there was a construction going on all over the neighborhood where it was all brand new housing. So there was lots of materials to gather at night. If you needed a 2x4 or a two, they're laying around. If you need a piece of plywood smaller than normal, they were laying around. People thought there was wood everywhere. They buried more wood next to the houses that they were building than we ever took out of there. I mean, that's what they did whenever they were done construction. They didn't have dumpsters. Where the when you're building a house, I don't know about these days or how, because it's mostly done with probably backhoes. But in those days, they had front end loaders that came down and dug a scoop out of the earth and then proceeded to dig out a basement. They dug it out. They didn't reach in and get it. They went into it. And when they got done building the house and the foundation was done, there was still that ramp that went down to the basement level. So they would take all the construction debris, all of it, and they would pile it all in there and just start filling it with dirt. So, and so much 2x4 stuff, and so much, I mean, just everything. And this was, this wasn't unusual. This was the way it was done in Kentucky in the 60s. Nobody made anybody, I mean, I can't imagine anybody making anybody at that time do anything environmentally nice. So, I mean, think about it. When the houses that I grew up in there, the house I grew up in there, there was no screws holding the drywall in place, not even to the ceiling. They used that black goop, and they just put that on all of the joists and beams, whatever, whatever and they would just tap it to the top and it would stick. And I don't, how it lasts. We would sometimes get into these houses years ago and climb up into the attics. Either on the first floor, whatever, we get up into the attic. There was always a pull down stair, and we'd go up there, and we would, not try to damage anything. But one of the times we were sitting up there, the whole ceiling caved in because we were sitting on the drywall, and it was being held only by this glue, black glue, and it collapsed on us. And two of us, me and one other guy, fell. The other guys were sitting on joists, but we fell down with the thing. We didn't get hurt much, but it was, a bit of a surprise and a drop, and it was 8 feet. We had 8-foot ceilings in those houses. So that was just, that's kind of, so anyway, it was just an amazing thing. Anyway, I don't even remember what we got off. Oh, the difference is my kids didn't have that. They didn't have the freedom. I wish, truthfully, sometimes we had bought a house in towns. I mean, like a Percy or maybe, some place where they could have gotten on their bikes and gone places. But we bought this house instead, and they made the best of it, I guess. They don't seem to be complaining. They love coming back here. We didn't chase them off. They went off on their own, and they come back pretty regular. So they didn't. It's not that they had a bad upbringing. Actually, Anne Marie, I think you would ask her, and she would say she enjoyed her upbringing. It wasn't a bad thing. But we can talk more about that later. Again, this is whatever I want to talk about tonight, and I didn't feel like talking about any kind of politics or anything else. Maybe talk about music. Music maybe tomorrow night. I was listening to some really good Jimmy Buffett earlier. Anyway, it is closing on that time again. My 15 minutes are just about done. I hope anybody that's listening might have enjoyed this reminiscence, but I don't expect you to. Unless it's one of my kids. Guys, if you ever get a chance to watch this stuff, watch it. Maybe you'll learn something about your dad after he's dead. See ya. Good night. Take care of each other. Have a good day tomorrow.